Hello students, welcome back to Wikipedia word videos. My topic for the presentation is fifth section of the chapter Kingdom Plantae. In this section of the video, we will be discussing about the silent features of Sub-Phyla of Kingdom Plantae, and that is Angiosperms. In my previous section of the presentation, I have taught you about the Gymnosperms. Okay, so here in this section of the video, we will be focusing on the Angiosperms. Angiosperms, they are also called as flowering plants, or they are also called as tracheophytes. It constitutes the most dominant and ubiquitous vascular plants of present day flora, which changed the green and yellow melancholy of Earth's vegetation by colorful brightness and fragrance of their flower, as you can see. The term angiosperms, it means enclosed seed, because the ovules or potential seeds, they are enclosed within a hollow ovary. Unlike gymnosperms, students, which I have already taught you in my previous section of the presentation, where ovules are naked. And in the angiosperms or flowering plants, which is this, the pollen grains and ovules are developed into specialized structure which is called as flower. And flower is an unique characteristic of angiosperms. That's why it has changed the green and yellow melancholy of Earth's vegetation by colorful brightness and fragrance of their flower, because flower is a unique characteristic of angiosperms. And the term angiosperms means enclosed seeds, because the ovule or potential seeds, they are enclosed within a hollow ovary. And in angiosperms, the seeds, they are enclosed by fruits. The angiosperms, they are an exceptionally large group of plants that occur in wide range of habitats. They range in size from tiny, almost microscopic Wolfia to tall trees of eucalyptus, which is around 100 meters tall. And angiosperms, they provide us fuel, fodder, medicine, and several other commercially important products. Okay, now we'll talk about the two classes of angiosperms. Students, there is some debate on the best way to categorize angiosperms. Okay, and one historical way of categorizing angiosperm is to use the number of cotyledons present. A cotyledon is a first leaf or leaf that sprouts from a seedling after germination. Under this system, there are two main groups. One is dicotyledons and monocotyledons. Okay, as we would expect, a seedling with only one cotyledon is called as monocot. Okay, mono means one and di means two, and cotyledon is a leaf, you can say, that erupts or that sprout from a seedling after germination. So a seedling with only one cotyledon is called as monocot, and a seedling with two cotyledon, it is called as dicotyledons. Okay, however, as we learned more about how true diverse the angiosperms group was, this simplistic naming system no longer worked. Okay, so classification, if you talk about, then the plant of angiosperm, they are divided into two major categories: dicotyledons and monocotyledons. Now we'll be talking about the dicotyledons. Di means two, and cotyledons means the leaf that sprouts from a seedling just after germination. Okay, so dicotyledons, they or you can say they show following distinguished characteristics, okay, such as taproot, which is found in the member of this group. That means taproot is a unique characteristic of dicotyledons. Okay, let's talk about the leaf. The leaf in member of these class, they exhibit reticulate venation. See, this is reticulate venation, wherein a vein and the veinlet, it forms a mesh-like network. Okay, so see, this is the midrib and these are the vein, and these smaller ones are the veinlets. So they are arranged in such a manner that they form a mesh like venation. Okay. Now the flower they are tetramerous or pentamerous that has 4 or 5 members in various floral whorls respectively. Okay, so as you can see, this is pentamerous flower, 1 2 3 4 and 5. 5 are there in floral whorl. So pentamerous flower and tetramerous flower is seen in dicotyledons. The vascular bundle they are arranged in ring numbering 2 to 6, open and with cambium. It is called as open vascular bundle because cambium is present between phloem and xylem. Okay, xylem and phloem they are called as vascular bundle. Students have already taught you in detail about this in anatomy of a flowering plant chapter. You can refer to that for better understanding. Okay, so the vascular bundle in dicots they are arranged in a ring numbering 2 to 6 and they are open. That means open vascular bundle means cambium is present between phloem and xylem. Okay, so that vascular bundle is called as open vascular bundle. The seeds of dicotyledons they are with 2 cotyledons as the name indicate. Okay, see, this is one cotyledon and this is another cotyledon. Cotyledon is a leaf that sprout from a seedling just after the germination. Okay, so that is dicotyledon. Now we'll talk about the monocotyledons, students. Mono means one and cotyledon means a leaf that sprout out from a seedling just after the germination. Okay, so monocotyledons they are or you can say they have only one leaf just after the germination and they show following distinguished characteristics. Adventitious root they are found in the members of monocotyledons. Okay, and the leaf they are simple with parallel venation. See, this is the parallel venation, unlike dicotyledons wherein reticulate venation was seen that forms a net-like network in leaf. Okay, and the flower they are trimerous. Trimerous means 3 floral whorls are seen in monocotyledons. And vascular bundle they are scattered in ground tissue mainly in number, closed and without cambium. That means in monocotyledons plants vascular bundle is found closed. That means no cambium is there between xylem and phloem. So that is called as closed vascular bundle. Okay, and it is seen that vascular bundle they are scattered over the ground tissue and the seeds of the monocotyledons are with one cotyledon as the name indicates. Examples of monocotyledons are cereals, bamboo, sugarcane, palm, banana, lilies and orchids. Okay, so these are the examples of monocotyledons which has only single cotyledon just after the germination and it has long narrow leaf parallel vein or venation. And it is seen that vascular bundle is scattered over ground tissue, many in number, closed and without cambium, and floral parts in multiple of 3 is found in monocotyledon plants. Now, how do plants defend themselves against herbivores, students? See, there are 2 types of defenses. First is mechanical defense, which has waxy cuticle that prevents bacterial and fungal growth. Okay, which is found in the leaf of a plant body. Then comes a sticky or hairy leaf that discourage caterpillars and other tiny herbivores. Okay, or that feeds on the plant body. Then comes spines, thorns and prickles. So they fend off larger mammalian herbivores. Okay, then comes another type of defense and that is chemical defense. Thousands of different compounds they are produced and they are used by plants, and some of these chemicals they include some of the most powerful drug which is known to human, such as caffeine, nicotine, cocaine and morphine. Okay, so these are the two defenses through which plants defend themselves against herbivores. Herbivores are the animals that feed on plant body. Okay, now we'll talk about the unique characteristic of angiosperms, and that is flower. So flower is a unique characteristic of flowering plants or angiosperms or tracheophytes, and flowers they form on dominant sporophyte plant. They consist of highly specialized male and female reproductive organs. That means flower of angiosperm it has two reproductive organ, one is male and second is female reproductive organ. Flowers they produce spores that develop into gametophytes, and male gametophyte they consist of just a few cells within a pollen grain and they produce sperm, and female gametophyte they produce egg obviously, and that is inside the ovary of a flower body. Flowers are used to attract animals for pollination. So flowers they also attract animal pollinators, and if pollination and fertilization occur, a diploid zygote forms within an ovule in the ovary, and the zygote then develops into an embryo inside a seed. That means from zygote embryo is found or formed, which forms from the ovule, and it also contains food to nourish the embryo. The ovary surrounding the seed may develop into fruit. That means ovary gets converted into fruit and ovules they get converted into seed. I repeat, ovary becomes fruit and ovules become seeds. Fruit attract animal that may disperse the seed they contain, and if a seed germinates it may grow into a mature sporophyte plant and just repeat the cycle. Okay, so this is the flower, this is the male part of a flower, and this is the female part of a flower which is little bulgy from the end. See, this is the male part of a flower which is anther and stamen. It has microspores present inside the anther. See, this is microspore mother cell. It has 4 cells. It undergoes meiosis and give rise to a new cell. And this cell, it has generative cell and tube cell. So this part is tube cell and this is generative cell, and it is pollen grain. Okay, what it is pollen grain. Then it undergoes mitosis, and pollen grain or it emerges, pollen tube emerges from this pollen. Okay, and this is a sperm, and it enters the female part of a plant body, which is this is the female part, this is the male part. Okay, this is male part and this is female part. So this is the sperm, which is a male organ. It enters the female part of a plant body or flower body, and thus pollination or fertilization occurs. Okay, and then pollen tube it enters here and it forms a mega gametophyte, which is a embryo sac, and then it cells inside it, it undergoes meiosis, and then it finally forms you can say that seed. Okay, see, this is the flower of angiosperms, this is sepal, this is gynoecium, which is female reproductive organ, which is also called as carpel. This is stigma, this main part is style, and this is ovules, which is also called as megasporangia, and this entire part is called as ovary, and this is perianth. Perianth means petal plus sepal is called as perianth. Corolla it composed of petals, that means many petals they form corolla, and many sepals it forms calyx. So corolla plus calyx is called as perianth. Okay, and this is the androecium, which is a male reproductive part of a plant body, which is called as stamen. It has pollen grains inside the anther, which is called as microsporangia. And this is the anther, this is the filament. I hope it is clear to you now. Both the reproductive organs of angiosperms, that is male and female. See, this is flower, this is the female reproductive part, and this is anther, this is in anther, and this is ovary, and these are the ovules which are present inside the ovary. Then this is microsporocyte that undergoes meiosis and form 4 cells, and this is the transverse section of the anther, which has 4 pollen sac, and inside it many pollen grains reside, which is also called as microspores. Then they undergo mitosis and forms pollen grain. This is the tube cell, this is the generative cell through which pollen tube occurs. See, this is the pollen tube, okay, and this is called as microgametophyte, which is called as pollen grain. Now this, it enters the female reproductive part, this is the female reproductive part, and these are the ovules which are present inside the ovary. So this is ovary, okay, this is the stigma part, this is the style part, and this is the ovary, okay, and these are the ovules which are present inside the ovary. And then this pollen tube, it enters the female reproductive part from here, and then meiosis takes place. So microspore mother cell, which is diploid, it undergoes meiosis to produce tetrad of 4 haploid pollen cells. Then it forms separate pollen grains, so many, which are these, which are present inside the pollen sac. And now let's see the zoom view of a pollen grain. So this is the generative nucleus. See, this is the same cell, okay, this is the zoom view of this, okay. So this is a generative nucleus that later forms 2 male gametes, and this is the exine, which is a thick outer sculptured wall. This is intine, which is thin inner wall, and this is tube nucleus, okay. Now we'll talk about the male gamete development, students. The angiosperm reproductive cycle, it begins with the process of microsporogenesis. Genesis means formation, okay, and sporo means sperm, micro means small sperm formation, or microspore formation. So the angiosperm reproductive cycle, it begins with the process of microsporogenesis or microspore formation. The stamen, it consists of a filament and anther, also known as microsporangium, and in most of the cases the anther, it consists of 4 pollen sac, which is called as locule. See, this is one pollen sac, this is another pollen sac, this is third pollen sac, and this is fourth pollen sac. Okay, so inside 4 pollen sacs, many pollens are there, okay, which undergoes meiosis and forms haploid pollen grain. Then it undergoes mitosis and it forms male gamete, okay. So this is mature pollen grain. So within each locule, archisporial cell, it develops through mitosis and it extends as a row of cell throughout the entire length of young anther. And these mitotic cell divisions, they generate an anther wall, which is made up of several cell layers, the outermost of which transform itself into epidermis. So as you can see, this exine and intine, okay, and the layer of cell below the epidermis is known as endothecium. And during anther development, the endothecial cells, they acquire thickening whose function is related to anther opening and pollen release, okay. So let's see, these are the 4 locules of pollen, or rather anther. These are the locules, one locule, second locule, third and fourth locule, and this is the vascular strand, this is the epidermis, which is the outer layer, and this is endothecium, which is present just below the epidermis. This is a zoom view of it, See, this is the zoom view of this. This is the middle layer. This is the microspore mother cell, and this is stomium, and this is endothecium. Okay, and endothecium, it just liberates the pollen grain. Pollen grain, it form in two pollen sacs which are located in the anther, and each pollen sac, it contains a specialized chamber in which microspore mother cells, they are enclosed and they are protected. Okay, see, this is the anther and this is the filament. This is the four locules: one locule, second locule, third and fourth locule. Locules are also called as pollen sac, so don't get confused with it. And this is the outer layer is called as epidermis. This brown color layer is fibrous layer. This is tapetum, which is denoted by this green color. These are the pollens which are present inside. Okay, so this is the pollen mother grain cell which undergoes meiosis to form two cells. Then it undergoes meiosis 2 to form four mother cells, or then secretion of wall, or it produces separate pollen grain. Okay, so this is the one mature pollen grain. So students, by now you have understood the anthers. Following meiosis, it produces pollen grain. Now we'll talk about the female gamete development in angiosperms, students. So the female sex organ in a flower or angiosperm is a pistil, or it is also called as carpel or gynoecium. Gynoecium, it consists of ovary enclosing one to many ovules. See, this is the ovary, and this is the ovule which is present, okay, inside the embryo sac. So the female sex organ in a flower is a pistil or carpel, and pistil, it consists of an ovary that encloses one to many ovules. Within ovules, there are present highly reduced female gametophytes, which is called as embryo sac. See, this is the embryo sac, which is highly reduced female gametophyte, and the embryo sac formation is preceded by meiosis. Hence, each of the cells of an embryo sac is haploid, be it this cell, these three cells, or this cell, or these three cells. They all are haploid. And each embryo sac, it has three celled egg apparatus, which is this. This is three cell egg apparatus. One egg cell, see, this is one egg cell, and two synogytes, okay, and three antipodal cells and two polar nuclei. So the polar nuclei, it eventually fuse to produce a diploid secondary nucleus. And pollen grain, after dispersal from the anther, they are carried by wind or various other agencies to the stigma of a pistil. This is termed as pollination, but pollination will be studying in the next section of the presentation. But here, for the time being, just know how female gamete development takes place in angiosperms. So the ovule, which is a female sex organ, it is consist of two opposite ends, the micropyle end, okay, and other is chalagial end. So first we'll talk about the micropyle end. See, this is the micropyle, okay, where ovular tissue is more massive and where integuments, they come together. See, these two layers, this was one layer and this is another layer. So this is outer one is outer integument and this is inner integument, okay. This is the nucellus and this is the embryo sac, and this is the chalagial pole. So there are two ends, one is micropylar end and this is chalagial pole, and a more distant end, which is chalagial pole, where ovular tissue is more massive. See, this is very massive. So this part is called as chalagia, and it lies directly opposite to the micropyle. See, this is the micropyle, and this chalagial pole, it is lying just opposite to the micropyle. And the mature ovule is composed of three layers: outer integument, inner integument, and underneath the integuments, which is called as nucellus. So this is nucellus, this is inner integument, and this is outer integument. Okay, and during ovular development, one cell lying below the nucellar epidermis, it just changes into primary archisporial, and this will divide to form primary parietal cell and primary sporogenous cell. And this primary sporogenous cell, it acts or it functions as megaspore mother cell, which is female gametophyte, and which divides meiotically, originating four haploid megaspores. That means four megaspores are formed from one diploid mother cell, which is present inside the embryo sac. See, this is the embryo sac, and here mother cell is found, which is diploid in nature. Then it undergoes meiosis to produce four cells, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So these are the four haploid cells which are formed from diploid mother cell. And this is the inner cell that grows, and these three cells, they just get degenerated. So this is the inner cell that grows, or its cytoplasm, and growth is nourished by nucleus. Then it undergoes mitosis to produce two nucleus. Okay, and thus it forms female gametophyte or embryo. Female gametophyte is called as embryo, and it again undergo mitosis to produce four nucleus. Then it again undergoes mitosis to produce three antipodal cells, which are present here, two polar nuclei, which is this, and these two synergids, and one ovum. The between one is called as ovum, which is also called as female gamete, and outer ones are synergid cells. And then nuclear fusion takes place, and thus it forms mature embryo sac, which is called as female gametophyte, just below before fertilization. And 7 nuclei present, 6 are haploid and 1 is diploid. Okay, I hope it is clear to you now that this is how it takes place in the formation of female gamete development in angiosperms. Okay, so this was all about it. In my next section of the presentation, we'll be studying about the pollination and reproduction. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Edupedia Word videos. Thank you.